But beyond landmark buildings, there are many other ways that creativity in architecture can affect people's lives. Maybe less spectacular, but essential as well for the individuals. I believe beauty should be an ethic duty for a creative. We have the mission to give beauty and comfort to everyday life of the people. Design successful a real landmark building for 20 million people is important, as well as design an apartment or an house to let the family live enjoying daily beauty and comfort. And it's very important not to discriminate any subject by its size to express creativity. Also, in a really tiny project, it's important attempting to insert creative intelligence inside. Gio Ponti, an Italian very important architect, used to say, "Amate l'architettura," love architecture. I think it wasn't referred to architecture as a knowledge category or like any other subject. I like to interpret this statement also as love your architecture, love the architecture you are creating. I think this is the essential condition for creativity, to love whatever you are designing, even if it's an apparently insignificant object. The love you are put in, it will be evident, and you make always the difference. Therefore, I wish to go ahead telling you how the deep themes can be developed even better in a small project. For instance, I developed the recurrent theme in two small houses built near Milan. I call these two buildings recurrent house number 1 and recurrent house number 2. Design for private housing is very delicate and very demanding in terms of creativity. It is very important to find a good sync with the client before start designing, trying to involve him or her into the creative process. My experience is that once this happens, the result is very good. In both the samples, the hexagram capability to symbolize the identity of architecture was matching the will of every owner to identify its own villa from the others. The hexagram approach is like a signature that linked the house with its owner. Hexagram house number 1 is a villa for two linked families, the family of a father and the family of his daughter. Therefore, I have used a two parts splitted hexagram scheme to represent this duplicity into the housing familiar identity. The final result is giving me a lot of enjoyment. A single house shell that seems frozen into the act of self-reproducing by budding, by separating itself into two parts that become independent and that seem are moving far one from another. Using hexagram, I have discovered that the movement is something embedded into the same hexagram concept. I've used the word discovered because it's true. Actually, we discover things into our creativity, and this is why we used to say I've got an idea instead of I've made an idea. Instead can be found. The ideas can be found. This means that they existed already before, and we have just to be open and patient to find them. This is what creativity is all about, the capability to search what is missing, and the patience to go always ahead, searching till the right idea is found. Hexagram house number 2 is perfect to understand the hexagram as a frozen movement, and to follow the process of searching the hexagram like mining into the quarry of sketches. Sketches are still the most effective way to dig into the primordial chaos of creativity. I take a lot of pleasure turning the orbiter of the three-dimensional interface of my 3D modeler and free-handedly sketching directly into the screen. This is pure physical pleasure for me. And in this case, I framed the precise moment when I found the right hexagram for this little house. There was a precise sketch type that I call the genetic sketch that always happens for every project. It is a sketch in which the right idea appears for the first time. It is very interesting to see how the nature of this movement has preserved totally its power from the genetic sketch to the final built architecture. And everything came from that vision, that first vision. The right word to describe the way I deal with hexagram during the design is the verb to find. Actually, the hexagram should be found into the objects. The only way is to observe the design process looking from the golden hexagram to appear. This has given me the opportunity to tell another specific aspect of creativity, solitude. The solitude is the necessary condition to observe our creative process. And observing is the only way to see into our sea, as Paul Cézanne used to say, to individuate the traces of the path, the sparks of the ideas. Jacques Maritain, a philosopher of early 20th century, said that art is a virtue of practical intellect, oriented of doing. As virtue is good habit, then art, and I say creativity, is a good habit too. This was a basic achievement for me, with many consequences. If creativity is an habit, it should be acquired only practicing it. The more I practice creativity, the more I grow with my creativity skill. A second important consequence is take every chance to practice creativity, even the more apparently insignificant, as we said. The sample I wish to tell you about is concerning a very small design I did for the elevator of my parents' house I designed in 2016. At that time I was involved in huge urban design projects but my parents need an elevator due to their aged reduced mobility. It was just a box in front of the house, but it has a huge importance because it was for my parents, it was the most visible front of the house. Therefore, the elevator box needed to be designed. This is what I meant that creativity is an habit. Once you are in the trip, you cannot go out, and even a small elevator become a theme for your creativity. The idea was simple and featured with two characteristics. The first was decomposed in the box, adding two frames on the two most exposed facades of the tower, going over the box top, drawing in the air and make them visible as an identity of the frames. And the second was to add on the most evident frame a horizontal texture which is somehow linked with the box design to the house balcony's parapet design. These two features have turned a simple box in an architecture element, and the most important, they have also made a very happy and proud clients.